So you're saying these are the computation part. The theories, we have the theories of taxation, theories of taxation. That is number one. Then we have administration of taxes, administration of taxes. Number three, we have custom and excise duty. And number four, we have public debt management. And number five, we have a private public partnership. And then number six, we have public finance. So those are the questions. So here, this one will have around 45 marks or so, or let us say 40, and this one is 60. Are you saying? And all of them will come. Now, all of them will come. So now, going forward from next week, before we do, we'll begin one question of computation or two, and then we'll focus here. And then you read in advance. Make sure that you have these notes. So you have these notes, and then once you read an area, you identify questions in the past papers. Find out whether you can be able to answer those questions, whether the information you have is sufficient. Then you keep on repeating reading. So when you rely on computation alone, you'll not pass. You have to combine. You have to read the theories and this, mostly public finance. So now, next week, ensure that you read here, theories of taxation. Then you identify questions. We'll discuss about it. You identify questions on theories of taxation, things to do with the fiscal policies, taxable capacity, types of taxes, characteristics of a good tax system, those things. Make sure that when I ask you what are the objective of fiscal policy, you should be able to tell me what is fiscal policy, what are the objective of fiscal policy, what are the fiscal policy tools. And then you also read this one. So these are the things we can just brush through in the next class. Then now this one, because most of them we have done them, just buy another small book separately. Make sure you do at least, here every week, you do at least two questions, each of these areas. And then you give it to me. Every week, make sure that you select, every sitting has a question on employment, every sitting. So you attempt for the last, we want you to do for the last 10 sittings. Make sure unafanya swali moja unaniletea mbili hapa ya employment kama na December 2023. Ukirudi hivyo paka tufike around 2019. Sasa. So you buy a small book, small exercise book. Every week you do at least two questions on employment income, one question on business, two questions on business income, company and partnership, investment allowance and VAT. And then you hand it over. So this now, make sure you do for December 2023. 2023, you do employment income, and August 2023, you do the employment income. Those two sittings, employment income. We also attend business income. Sindio? Alafu unaniletea mimi na mark. Kama kuna shida tuna discuss pamoja. Sindio? Una make sure unafanya. Hiyo ndio mimi naona strategy itatusaidia. Na unasoma hizi materials. Kama unafanya ATD you must read this theory. ATD we're doing 1, 2, 3. This one are yours. And these other ones. Kama una notes uniambie saa hii nikupatie. Kama una notes uniambie saa hii nikupa. So tukitoka hapa kuja nikupatie notes. Niko na notes zote. Wewe kazi yako ni kusoma na uende through questions. Besides kuna question and answers booklet hapa. Naweza nunulia moja mko mna question and answers booklet. Ndio mtakuwa mnashare. So we have question and answers mpaka December 2023. So all the way from 2015. So you can also be na revise. Unaona? So tax kila mtu wapi? Apiti. So hizi swali zitakuja hizi. Employment income lazima utapata swali. Business income utapata either company ama partnership. Investment allowance lazima upate swali, VAT lazima upate swali. Hata ukifungua first paper utaona zitakuja hivyo. Hiyo ndio paper rahisi kupita because unajua ile kitu itakuja. Lazima upate swali ya public finance hapo, lazima. So hii public finance is very important. This public finance is composed of 4 areas. Public finance. We have introduction to public finance, introduction to public finance, to public finance. And then number 3, we have oversight functions, oversight function. Then we have supply chain management in public finance, in public entity, supply chain management, supply chain management in public entities. Supply chain management in public entities. Then we have public funds. You have public funds. So you can make it your goal every week, at least you read an area or two. Unasoma labda public funds, hiyo mambo consolidated funds, unajua mambo ya contingent funds, you know it. You all know those funds. Unajua vile zinatumika. So you can make it an area. Here lazima utapata max 20. To always set 20 marks. Unapitia. Sasa nikikuuliza roles za Auditor General, Commission of Revenue Allocation, hizo vitu ndogo ndogo. They are very straightforward. Commission of Revenue Allocation, they don't even need much teaching. It's just reading. So tumeelewana? So make sure nimeona kitabu yako. Umefanya swali employment income. What is your name? Diana, you don't come oftenly. You're online. So now you've made your mind to be cutting physical. Oh, so now we want to do VAT. We want to do VAT. I've shared some handout on VAT. So we're doing VAT. I don't know whether you can see that handout. So we have so number one, when it comes to VAT, number one, you need to know definition of the term, definition of VAT. You need to understand what you mean by VAT. VAT means value added, but now in a more simpler way. Anyone who can give us in another way. What is another definition of VAT? Another definition of VAT, yes, it stands for value added tax. So which kind of value is this? VAT. What is VAT? This one is very common, isn't it? So VAT is value added tax, isn't it? So in simpler words, in a layman's language, unaweza ambia mtu VAT ni nini? Mkutana naye kwa barabara na kuuliza hivi VAT nasikia serikali imeongeza. It's a tax. It's a tax. So that is true. But in a simple word, you can say it is a tax on spending. It is tax on spending, which is collected by businesses on behalf of the government. Which is collected by business on. So in other words, if you don't spend on item that is vatable, you don't pay VAT. It is tax on spending on those items that are vatable, either services or goods. So if you don't consume that product, you don't pay it. If you consume that particular item, you pay the VAT. So VAT is tax on spending. It is tax on spending. Tax on spending collected on behalf of the government by businesses. So now when we are studying VAT, we are not interested with the person who pays the VAT. That is not our point of interest. Our interest is the businesses that collect VAT on behalf of the government. That is where we are going to spend our energy. We want to see how they behave. The person who pays VAT, there's no issue with that person. So if you spend on an item that is vatable, you pay VAT. If you don't consume it, you don't pay VAT. Understood? Now, our point of focus is the person, is the business that is collecting VAT on behalf of a person. So now, what is it that you need to have for you to be an agent of VAT, so that you collect VAT on behalf of the government? So what is it that you need to have, or what do you need to meet for you to be an agent? So number one, we have what we need, what we call compulsory registration as a VAT agent. So there are some other conditions. If you meet, you need to register compulsory as an agent. Number one, if in the course of business, you expect to supply taxable goods or services whose value is 5 million and above in any given year, you were supposed to register compulsory as a VAT agent. If the value of goods and services that you are selling, the vatable goods or services, if the value is 5 million and above in any given year, you're supposed to register as an agent. You are dealing with vatable goods or services, and the value is 5 million. You are supposed to register as an agent. So you can see there, in the course of business, has manufactured and supplied, or expect to manufacture and supply taxable goods, or has supplied or expect to supply taxable services, or both, the value of which is 5 million in a period of 12 months. You're supposed to register compulsory as a VAT agent. Another one is if you sell 4 or more motor vehicles in a year. If you manage to sell 4 or more motor vehicles in a year, you're supposed to register compulsory as an agent. If you provide legal and arbitration services, you're supposed to register compulsory as an agent. You provide surveyors and assessor service, security and investigation services, clearing and forwarding services, bookkeeping and accounting services, you're supposed to register as an agent. But the most important one is the first one. The most important is the first one. At the same time, you might not be meeting the criteria for registration, but you can apply for voluntary registration when you don't meet the criteria for qualification. You don't meet the criteria to be an agent. So your application can be only be admissible at the discretion of the commissioner. So voluntary registration is also allowed if you don't meet the qualification. That one will only be granted at the discretion of the commissioner. So in other words, we have compulsory registration and voluntary. So we can have another person who doesn't meet the qualification for registration, but he can apply for registration and he can be given an approval by the commissioner. So that is how you become an agent. That is how you become an agent. And then an agent can also be deregistered. A person who had been registered earlier on can also be deregistered if the following occurs. Number one, if a registered person ceases to make taxable supplies, deregistration occurs when you stop to make, if you stop to supply taxable. Taxable are those items or services that attract VAT. And number two, the value of taxable goods or services being supplied in any period of 12 months falls below 5 million. If the value of taxable goods or services falls below 5 million in any given period of 12 months, and it has been like that for a while, you can apply for the registration. Or you are incapacitated so that you can no longer continue the business, you can apply for the registration. Or you become insolvent, you are bankrupt, you can apply for the registration. Or when you die and someone else inherits your business, that person inheriting the business must deregister you first and register afresh. Another thing that can happen, and then you will be required to be deregistered, is when you change the business name. So the registration occurs when, number one, the value of taxable goods or services falls below 5 million in any given 12 months. Number 2, there's a change of business name. Number 3, there's incapacitation by the owner of the business. There's death or insolvency. So those are the circumstances under which a registered person can be deregistered. Correct? So when you're a registered person, when you are a registered person, you are supposed to keep records. You're supposed to keep records. So which are these records that you keep? You keep records of all invoices issued in serial number order. You keep records of all invoices issued. You know what is an invoice? Eh? What is an invoice? You must keep all records of all invoices issued to customers. So what is an invoice? So one of the big records are invoices issued to customers. So I'm asking, what is an invoice? Huh? It is? Yeah, so it's a formal document. It's a formal document for that demands for payment when goods are sold on credit. So every time you sell goods on credit, you issue what? An invoice. Correct? Another document that you need to keep as an agent is all copies of debit and credit notes. So we have debit, credit note, and debit notes. You must keep credit notes and debit note. What is a credit note? What is a credit note? A credit note is a document that corrects an overcharge on an invoice. An overcharge on? So you overcharge a customer, you issue a credit note. For example, you had sold goods on credit whose value is 200,000. And then now during the course of a period, the customer returns goods whose value is maybe 50. So now the early invoice will be inflated by how much? By 50. Because goods valued at 50,000 were returned. So you have to issue a credit note. A debit note is an additional invoice. It's a document that corrects an undercharge on an invoice. So when you undercharge the customer, you issue an additional invoice, which you call a debit note. So a debit note is a document that corrects an undercharge on an invoice. So when you issue these documents, you must keep them in order. Then number 3, you must keep all purchases invoice. All purchases invoice, purchases invoices, all the purchases invoice, and then custom entries. When you import goods, you must keep custom entries, all custom entries. Custom entries and receipts of duty paid. And then receipts for duty paid. For duty paid, especially when you import goods. So you must keep that one. Those are some of the records you keep. Number 5, another record that you need to keep. You need to keep details of all amounts of tax charge on each supply. So you have to have documents, details. So you have to have details of tax charge, on each supply made, on each sales made, on each sale. Supplies same as sales. So every time you sell and the tax that you charge, you have to keep the records of the same. So those are some of the records. These are the most important one. The most important one. So now we are talking about a registered person. We have seen the qualification for you to be a registered agent. We are looking at the record that you need to keep as an agent. And then now you as an agent, you have some rights. A registered person or an agent, a VAT agent has some rights. So the rights of a registered person or registered. So you as an agent, you have rights. So you have rights of a registered person. A registered person has a right. I have seen this question severally. So you as a registered person, you have a right. What is your right? Number one, you have a right to deduct VAT on inputs. You have a right to deduct VAT on inputs. So now, how do you normally account for VAT? The VAT that when you buy goods, the VAT that you are charged is called input tax. When you buy goods that you normally sell, you are charged VAT. That VAT is called. When you sell to your customers, when they come to buy from you, you charge them VAT. That VAT is called output tax. So the VAT on purchase is called input, and the VAT on sales is called output. So you have a right to deduct input from output, and then the excess you now pay. So you have a right to deduct input tax from the output tax. A right to deduct input tax. You have a right to deduct input tax from what? From output tax. And number two, you have a right to get refunds if your input tax always exceed your output. If your input tax is always more than the output, you have a right to be refunded. If your input tax is always more than the output, you have a right to be refunded. Number three, you have a right to get relief for stock in trade at the time of registration. So when you're registering for the first time, those items that you had in stocks, that the VAT that you are charged for the items that are in the store, you have a right to be given a relief for the VAT there in stock, opening stock, if you're registering for the first time. Then you also have a right to get a refund on VAT on bad dates. VAT on bad dates. And then you also have a right to get a relief or refund on capital goods, including buildings required to put up within 12 months prior to registration. And then you also have a right to access the commissioner or any other senior officers or manager if you have a genuine complaint. So you have the right to access the commissioner or any other officer if in case you have an issue. You have a right to access them. Then you also have a right to defer payments due to a date not later than 20th day of the month succeeding that in which the tax is charged. So those are some of your rights. You need to know them. You also have obligations. You are a registered person, you have obligations. There are things you need to do as a registered person. You have obligations. Number one obligation, if you qualify to be registered, you need to apply for registration. If you need the registration qualification, then it's your responsibility to apply for registration. That is number one. You have to apply for registration as a taxable person if you meet the qualification. And number two, one of your obligations is to display the certificate of registration in a place that is visible within the business premises. So you have an obligation to display that registration certificate. Everybody who comes to your premises need to know that you are a registered VAT person. Number three, you have an obligation to charge VAT on all supplies or sales of taxable goods and services. All the goods that we are selling that are attract VAT, it's your obligation to ensure that the VAT is charged. Then you also have an obligation to issue a VAT tax invoice immediately after each supply. Supply means sales. Then you also have an obligation to keep proper records. Then to file the VAT returns on due dates. And then to provide the VAT department officers with any information pertaining to the business and to allow the officers access the business premises whenever required. So any information that is required by the VAT commissioner, you are supposed to provide that information. And then you must allow them to access your business premises anytime they need. So those are some obligations. And then we have what we call the tax point. We have what we call the tax point. What is tax point? Tax point refers to the time when a supply is deemed to have taken place and VAT becomes payable at that point. So when do you account for VAT? So you account for VAT at the earlier of payment, invoice, delivery. So whichever happens early of the three, that is when you account for payment. For example, if you invoice in January, you receive payment in February, and you deliver goods. Delivery is done in March. You deliver in March. Delivery. So you're supposed to account for that transaction in January. Okay? If you deliver goods, if you receive payments in March, and you deliver goods in January, whichever happens of the early of the three is when we account for VAT. You don't wait for payments to occur for you to account for VAT. If you just invoice the customer has not paid, you have to pay for that VAT. You have to account for that VAT. So that is what we call the tax point. So this refers to the time when a supply is deemed to have taken place and VAT becomes due and payable then. So VAT becomes due and payable at the early of the following. The goods or services are supplied to the purchaser. An invoice is issued in respect of the supply. Payment is received or part of the supply. Certificate is issued by the architecture, surveyor, or any person in supervisory capacity in respect of the service. Then you can also read on the tax invoice, and then so like that. So now we have classification of VAT. So VAT is classified into two. We have standard rated and we have the exempt. We have the standard rated and so classification of VAT. So VAT is classified into two. We have the standard rated and so we have the standard rate, standard rated, and then we have the exempt. So standard rated are those services or goods that attract VAT at 16% or 0%. And these ones are exempted from VAT completely. Standard rated supplies are supplies in which VAT is charged at the rate of 16%. However, the rate of fuel is 8. No, the rate of fuel was adjusted to 16. It used to be 8. It's adjusted to 16. So we don't have 8%. So everything is 15. Fuel is 16. So the input tax suffered on standard rated supplies is claimable against the output. When you suffer input tax, to suffer means to pay. When you suffer input tax on standard rated goods, then you will claim them from the output tax. Zero rated is also classified as standard rate, but the rate is zero. The rate is zero. So as supplies for which no tax is charged, zero rated. However, in all respect, treated as taxable supplies. The value of zero rated supplies is taken into consideration of the turnover required for a person to be registered for VAT. So when you're determining whether you qualify to be registered, we also consider the zero rated goods or services. So what are the most common zero rated items? Number one are export sales. Export sales are zero rated. And water supplied by county government. So those are the most important ones. Water supplied by county government and export sales. And then we have supplies to the designated foreign aided fund. Then exempt are those goods that do not attract VAT at all. So I've given you a list of number of them there. You can see mosquito nets, material used to prepare the cleaning of daily apparatus, seeds for sowing, e.g. cotton seeds, sunflower seeds, floriculture and horticultural inputs, speed governors, educational materials and articles, burial and cremation services, medical, veterinary, and so now at that point, I want us now to go to the computation part of it. I want us to go to the computation part of it. So how do you account for VAT? How do you account for VAT? So you're saying the VAT that you are charged, VAT on purchases and services, some services, not all services. This one is called input tax. Input tax. Input tax is the VAT that you are charged when you buy goods. Then we have output tax, VAT on sales. It's called output tax. So the VAT that you pay, VAT payable, stock refundable, is equals to output tax minus input tax. Output tax minus input tax. And then VAT is accounted for on a monthly basis. So the transaction, you have to account for VAT on a monthly basis. And when do you pay now the VAT in case it is there? So you file the return by 20th day of the month following the months of transaction. So that is when you are supposed to pay for VAT and file return by then. If this is the month of March, those transactions that are occurring in March, by 20th of April, you should have accounted for everything that occurred in March. So that is when you pay VAT. Output tax minus input tax. Correct? Now here we have an example. Supposing we have a supplier who supplies raw materials. He supplies raw materials whose value is 1 million. So when you give him 1 million, he is satisfied. It covers all the cost and the profit. So the suppliers requires only 1 million. And then here we have VAT is at 16%. VAT is at 16%. And then value addition is at 25%. And then markup is at 30%. So here, the first person here, we have the supplier here. Supplier is a registered person for VAT. He supplies raw materials. This is the supplier. So he supplies raw materials. And when you give him 1 million, he is home and satisfied. So 1 million is enough for him. It covers all his cost and profit elements. But the government tells him, please, on top of what you did, add for us 16%. So he charges you VAT at 16% is not his money. His money is 1 million. When he receives 1 million, is home and dry, correct? So he adds how much? So whoever comes to buy will pay 1,100 rand. So he'll give the government how much? So who is this person coming to buy from him? It's called manufacturer, correct? This is the person coming to buy from him, correct? So the manufacturer will put the VAT aside. He is aware that he was charged how much? 160. So he'll settle the cost of the cost. He'll settle the cost without VAT, of course, which is one. He is aware that the VAT is 160. So he has put it aside. Then he's going to add value, maybe convert it into a finished product. So value at 25, which is going to be, so the total cost is how much? 1,200 rand. Of course, is in business, also requires what? Profit. So the markup at 30%. So what is 30% of 1250? 375. So his selling price will be how much? 1620. 1625. Then the government also requires something, isn't it? The government requires VAT at 16%, which is 260. So 260. So now the whoever's coming to buy from him will buy how you pay how much? 1885, correct? So now this VAT charge this customer is called output tax. So right here 260. Now he comes and recall the other one that he was charged, which he called input tax. So let's input tax here. Input tax was how much? 160. So he's going to pay how much? 100. Are we together? So he was charged 160. That's 160. He put it aside. So he took the cost of the material without VAT. He added value addition, maybe converting into a finished product. Then the total cost to him was 1,250. Then there was also profit element. He added his profit. So the total cost became how much? Selling price, which is 1625. Then he charged VAT of how much? So the VAT he paid to the government is how much? 100, correct? Now, who is this person that came to buy from him? It's called wholesaler, correct? The wholesaler is the one that buys from manufacturer, correct? So the cost of the product without VAT, the cost of the product without VAT is how much? Isn't it? Then you also add value. What will be the value to wholesaler? Maybe transport cost, storage. That is the value. At what price? At 25%. 25% is how much? Huh? 406 point. And then you add the two. So total cost. We look at 1.225. So that is the total cost. And then you add markup. Markup at 30%. 30% of that one is how much? 609.4. So now selling price. Selling price of one happy 600 and 640. 2640. You know selling price, like I said. And then the government wants something also, which is eh? 422 point. And then you add 30, 30, 62.5. So output tax is happy 422 point, and then you less input tax. Input tax is how much? 260. So how much is he paying? Sorry? 160. 162.5. And then who's coming to buy here? Retailer. So the cost without VAT is how much? 26. Sindio? Sinigweli. 2640. Alafu ataadi nini? Value. So retailer anaadi value gani? Transport, sindio? Amekuletea vitu karibu na wewe, sindio? Alafu ataistore for a while before you nunue, sindio? So value at what? At value at 25, which is how much? 60. 600 and so the total cost 3,300. 3,300. Markup. 990 total. 42. 4290. 4290 utaongezea nini? VAT at 16%, which is 686.4. $49.4. So the output tax here is 686 point, and then you less what? You less input tax. Input tax is how much? 422.5. Unakuja ngapi? Sorry? 260. 263.9. Now the total tax collected by the government, it will be, so the wholesaler, the supplier paid how much? 160. But remember, he recovered this amount from who? From the manufacturer. So he paid nothing. Yeah? Si alikuwa anataka 1 million na akaongezea ile mtu anakuja kununua kwake, si ndio? So he paid nothing, correct? He recovered that amount, the 160 that he paid, he recovered from who? So manufacturer paid how much? 100, isn't it? So of course the amount he paid 160, he recovered it, isn't it? And then now the excess he paid to the guy. So this one he charged 260 out of his total profit. So he first of all recovered the 100 he paid, and then the excess he paid to the, so he paid nothing, correct? Tuenda kwa nani? Wholesaler. Wholesaler alilipa ngapi? 160. And then retailer kalipa ngapi? 260, 263 point. So yote ukiadi unapata ngapi? 686 point. So whoever consumes this product is the one that paid VAT. The consumer of the product is the one that pays. Because now when you're paying 686, you as a consumer, where are you recovering it from? You don't recover it, isn't it? So the consumer here, this is a demonstration how VAT works. So the final person who consumed this, assuming this was just a single product, and this is how it moved. It started from the supply of raw materials. You've seen the VAT that was charged. It went to the manufacturer, all the way to the wholesaler, up to the person who consumes the product. So eventually, it is the person who consumes the product that pays for VAT. So that is how VAT works. So this is in case you're dealing with a single product. But now, if you're dealing with so many products, what do you do? If you're dealing with multiple products, Oh, second foot. Na sio iko kwa hiyo note. Oh. So that is how VAT works. Sorry? Yeah, purchases. Yeah, the purchases in VAT is not part of your purchases. If you include, if you buy goods and those goods are inclusive of VAT, the VAT amount should be eliminated from the purchases. Yeah. So VAT is not part of purchases. It's not part of. Here is not part of purchases. Okay, you can write it issue. So in case you're dealing with many products, so you open a VAT account, you open a VAT account. So on this side, you're going to record input tax. And this side, you're going to record output tax. In case you're dealing with so many items. So you go to the creditors account, you get VAT on credit purchases, VAT on credit purchases. So you'll go through, you scrutinize the creditors account, and you get all VAT on credit purchases. And then you'll go to cash book, you get VAT on cash purchases. You get VAT on cash purchases, cash book. You also go to the cash book and get VAT on imports. You get VAT on imports. You go to the cash book, you get VAT on services. And then here you go to debtors account, VAT on credit sales. You go to cash book, you get VAT on cash sales. So in case you return goods to the suppliers, we call it return outwards. You can record on this side, you deduct, or you record this side. So VAT returns outwards. Returns outwards. Return outwards is when you return goods to the supplier. It reduces your input VAT. It reduces your. So when you record on this side, either it's in the negative, or alternatively, you can record on this side. Then return inwards, you record on this side. Return inwards. And then you add everything here. You add everything here. And then you write your VAT payable, refundable. Is equals to output tax minus input tax. So you open a VAT account if you're dealing with more than one item. If you're dealing with more than one item. So example, remember VAT is always tested every sitting. You have a question on VAT. Every sitting has a question on VAT. So example, November 2019, question number 2C. November 2019, question number 2C. So now we're going to do our first question. November 2019, CPA November 2019. CPA November 2019, question number 2. So as I had told you earlier, the first question is always on public finance, like this one. Summarize 5 rows of county assembly in public finance management. How many marks? 5. Propose 5 sources of revenue for county government. 5 marks, 10. Outline the stages to be followed in the budget process for the national government in the financial year. 10 marks, 20. Hizo vitu zote nimeandika kwa ile, hiyo ni introduction public finance. Unaona, usiposoma hizo ume lose 20 marks already. You are disadvantaged. So public finance inafanya na 20 marks. So you must start reading that public finance. So kwa public finance, the next time tukikutana kwa public finance, si kila mtu ananipatia, you're going to give me your names and your phone numbers. Usipofanya vile maswali, if you don't do, tumeagree how many questions in every week? Including tunafanya mbili, si ndio? Si ndio? And then business unafanya mbili. Alafu unafanya ka VAT kamoja na unanitafutia kama sasa tumeagree, this time round we're going to read on public funds. For public finance, some of our public funds, hiyo mambo ya consolidated fund, contingent funds, public, hiyo consolidated funds, utakuja na we identify around 2 or 3 questions, 4 questions za hii past paper za public funds, unazi identify, unazifanya, unaleta. So unaelewa? So mimi nachukua namba zenyu, usipofanya mimi ndakupigia simu. Ukipasist kutofanya ndakupeleka polisi. Si ndio? If you don't do it twice, I report you to the Kamkuni police station, correct? So I want to see everybody doing 2-3 questions. Employment income. So you can deliver them before. If you're only coming once here, what can you do? Utaniletea ukikuja, si ndio? Sasa. So unaona hiyo swali ya public finance, hata kusoma public finance, ndio hiyo unaona ni 20 marks. 20 marks, ukipata hiyo 20 marks, uko mbele sana. Unakuja unapata swali investment income, employment, na hiyo ingine umemaliza. So we are to part 2. Part 2, November 2019, CPA November 2019, CPA November 2019, question number 2C. So the question reads, the following are summaries of the details of sales day book, purchases day book, and cash book for Kamata Limited for the month of December 2018. So we have the sales day book, we have the purchases day book, and then we have the cash book. Then we have additional information. Number 1, J. Kamau was declared bankrupt on 18 December 2018 after having paid 400,000 shillings for the goods purchased on 7 December 2018. Then number 2, 10% of the purchases from Jawabu Enterprises were returned by the company due to poor quality. Number 3, credit notes amounting to 280,000 shillings were issued to customers during the month. And number 4, refund to the customers in the cash book relates to the excess amounts paid on cash sales. Number 5, a purchase invoice of 220,000 from Dubai traders was omitted from the purchase day book. And number 6, all the above transactions are exclusive of VAT at the standard rate of 16%. So required, prepare a VAT account for the month of December 2018, showing the VAT payable refundable, if any, 12 marks. So when you read a question of VAT, the first thing you check the nature of transaction that the trader is handling. By nature, I mean whether it's dealing with both deductible or exempt. If it's doing both taxable and exempt. So when you don't have anything called exempt, there's no exempt sales anywhere. Then you open a VAT account. So here you open a VAT account here. So you open a VAT account here. So you open a VAT account. So you write the name of the business is called Kamata Limited. So Kamata Limited. So VAT account for the month of December 2018. So you write the title. So remember, VAT is accounted for on monthly basis. Monthly basis. VAT is accounted for on monthly basis. CPA November 2019, question number 2C. So this side, we're going to record input tax. Input tax is the tax that you are charged when you buy items. Then here we have output tax. Input and output. So anyone who knows what is the purpose of the sales day book, what is it that we record in the sales day book? So we record the sales on credit sales only, isn't it? And then purchases day book we record credit purchases, isn't it? And then the cash book we record cash purchases and sales, isn't it? So you're going to record them according to dates. According to dates. Before we even record, I had forgotten to tell you something here. When it comes to services and other products that you buy that are vatable, we have some you cannot claim input tax on, especially the one they test most is restaurant services. When you charge VAT on restaurant services, you cannot claim input tax on restaurant services, catering services, and repairs of the motor vehicles and spare parts. Nimeandika kwa hiyo list. We call them non-deductible input items. Non-deductible input items. Most of them they test here: catering, restaurant, and repairs. So now we start. We start this question. We record it according to dates. So the first transaction that I can see here, it was on 2nd of December in the cash book. They paid what? Salaries and wages. Haina VAT, senyo? Ama mshahara inakuwa VAT? Mshahara haina VAT. So that one we meet. The next transaction after 2nd is on 1st. We had 1st of December, isn't it? So we have 1st of, you write there Jawabu Enterprises. Jawabu Enterprises, correct? So they bought goods from Jawabu Enterprises. So these goods are not, the transactions are exclusive of VAT. So meaning 16, this 300,000 is equivalent to 100%. So we want 16%. So it will be 16 out of 100 times. If it is exclusive of VAT, it means 100%. So you are interested with, if it is inclusive, it means 100 and, so you cross multiply. So inakuja ngapi? 40? So we write here 48,000. So the VAT amount is 48,000. So that is an input item. We go to the next, we check the next transaction. It was on 2nd, which you say salary and wages. That one is not. That one has VAT. After 2nd, which one is the next transaction? 4th. What happened on 4th? Mwangaza Limited, isn't it? So right here, 4th of December, Mwangaza Limited. So 16 out of 100 times 600 and what does that mean? What? 104,000, correct? And then the next is on 4th. We still have catering services. I said that one you don't claim input tax on catering services. So that one you omit on the 4th. And then after 4th, we have 5th. What happened? Sales, isn't it? So that is on 5th of December, you write your cash book. So 16 out of 100 in bracket, 960 plus 450. So what do you get? CB means cash book. 225,600. 225, 600, correct? And then also the same date we have purchases. Cash book, 16 out of 100 in bracket, 580 plus 640. So what do you get? Eh? 195. 200, correct. 195, 200. The next date, we have 6th, isn't it? Yeah, 6th. 6th of December. Sonitic Limited imports. 16 out of 100 times 420,000. So how much do you get? 67, 200. That is on 16th. Or 6, sorry. The next is 7th, isn't it? So 7 we have J Kamau. J Kamau. 16 out of 100 times how much? 520,000. How much do you get? 83. And then on the same date, we have furniture, isn't it? On 7th of December, we have furniture, which is 16 out of 100 times 160,000. So how much do you get? 25,600. And then the next one is so on 9th of December, you write there electricity, correct? Electricity. 16 out of 100 times 32,000. So what do you get? 5120. 5120, that is electricity. Then the next is on 7th. 12th. 12th what happened? Purchased. So 12th of December. And Kaluma. 16 out of 100 times 200,000. What do you get? 32,000. Next. 14. So 14th of December, what happened? Hazina Enterprises. How much? 350, isn't it? So that one we said export is 0. Export is 0 rated, correct? Export and water from county government is 0 rated. Next. Photocopy, which is on 14th, isn't it? So right here, 14th of December, photocopy. 16 out of 100 times 24,000. How much do you get? 3840. After that, which date? 20th. 15th. Anyone who can make comments on that one on 15th? Huh? Sorry? It had? Huh? Speak up. When you're being paid by data, isn't it? It means you had sold earlier. So you had already issued the invoice, isn't it? And then you had delivered the goods. So probably you have accounted for VAT then, isn't it? So you don't claim again here. There's what we call tax point. Tax point. So when you say a debtor pay you, a debtor cannot pay you when you have not delivered goods. It's not possible. They can sometimes, but they cannot pay you before you even issue an invoice, isn't it? So it must be so those at least one of them might have occurred for them to make payments. So that one is it has already been accounted for in the previous period. So that one you're going to skip it. Then next one is on 20th, is it so? 20th, isn't it? So 20th will say ministry or sports, which is how much? 16 out of 100 times 170. Now they're happy? Huh? 37. And then next is 22nd. That one I'm going to show you how we're going to deal with it. And then now 20. Eh? Tutafuatilia. Alafu tuna 27 of December. Ni ngapi yafanyika B salama. 16 out of 100 times 180,000. So inakuja ngapi? 28,100. Sindio? Very good with additional information. Good with additional information. Additional information number one, Kamau was declared bankrupt. Kamau was one of the customers after having paid some amount. So we're going to deal with that one later on. Tutadili na hiyo tu before we finish. Tutadili na hiyo. And then number two, 10% of the purchases from the Jawabu enterprises were returned by the company due to poor. So that is returned. Return outwards, ndio? Returns outwards. Jawabu ndo huyu, si ndio? So it is 10%. So 10% of 300,000 times 0.16. Ama 10% of 300,000 and 16% of that. So the total goods that were bought from Jawabu, 300,000. Out of that, they return 10%. Nauja ngapi? Huh? 48. 4,800. You can opt to write this side, but you deduct. So the best thing is to write on your side. Return outwards. Return outwards is when you are returning goods to the supplier. And then now we go to the next one. Number 3. Credit notes amounting to 280,000 were issued to customers during the months. When you issue credit notes, what does it denote? Overcharge. So where do you record? On the debit side, isn't it? So right here, credit note issued. When you issue credit note, it means you are reducing the output VAT. You are reducing the invoice from the customer. So you are reducing the output VAT. So now we have 16 out of 100 times 280. What do you get? 44,800. 44,800. So number 4, refund to the customers in the cash book related to the excess amount paid to in the cash. So that one we're going to see it later on. Then number 5, a purchase invoice of 220,000 from Dubai traders were omitted from the purchase day book. So we have Dubai traders, omitted invoice. 16 out of 100 times 220,000. So how much do you get? Huh? So this is 35, 35, 200. And then now here we add this one first. We also add here. Then here we write here VAT payable stroke refundable is equals to output tax minus four, 484, 760, 480, 485, 760. And this other one, four 44, 800. So here we come here, we say output tax. We say here output tax 444,800, and then we less input tax. Input tax is 485, 760. Then we less bankruptcy. Kamau. Kamau had paid how much? Kamau, we had sold to Kamau. So it's going to be 16 out of 100 times in brackets. The total sales to Kamau was 520. 520 minus 400. So he had a debt of 120,000 by the time he was being declared bankrupt. So how much is that? Eh? So 19,200 we're going to deduct here. Then we had refund. We had refund, which is 16 out of 100 times. The refund was how much? 100 and 176,000, which is eh? 28. And then you less Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Sports, Sasawa, 27. So when you say to the ministry, they withhold the VAT. They withhold it because that money is there, isn't it? So wezi wauzia kupatia pesa tena warudishie, si ndio? So they withhold, so you deduct. So when you add, you might deduct this one, how much do you get? Hmm? 6. 10 minutes to time. So I will not leave you like that. I give something. So in addition to that, so you attempt December 2021, question number 2C. Sasa na uende usoma vile vitu za public finance. Unaona question number 1 inaongea public finance 20 marks. Zile ulipata notes? Ule mtu ana notes sahihi aniambie nimtumie tu sahihi. Wewe ndio una notes. Hata wewe. Sorry? No, you see you claim you only account for it 16% side yako ya input ya output, lakini wali retain hiyo pesa, so unatuja unatoa kwa the amount. Niko na namba yako kweli? Ndio hiyo. Sawa. Una notes gani? Na utasoma ni kweli? Usome hizi vitu za sana sana public finance. Okay. Wewe ndio marks unawahi. Ndio, nasoma naenda kusoma rais zote. That is refund carry forward. Refund utaanza nayo sasa balance go down kwa hiyo input. Unaona kama sasa ukianza next month hiyo itakuwa balance go down. Unaelewa? Ikiwa output ikiwa mingi kushinda input unalipa VAT. Input ikiwa mingi kushinda output unaanza nayo next month. Ikipersist unaenda refund. Yeah. Ikiwa opposite unalipa. You pay tax by 20th of the day. Ziko tu hapo, ziko hapo kwa hiyo VAT. Tunasema ziko kwa hiyo handout. Nimeziandika zote hapo. Vitu kama 8 hivi. Ziko hapo. Hiki choko ni kubwa. Hicho iko na space kubwa. Wanasemaga unakufa by the time ukufe unakuwa umetumia 10%. Hiyo unajua unaweza kuwa daktari, bado kuwa accountant, ukuwe pastor, ujue Bible yote. Ujue Bible yote. Kichwa. So hii information ni kidogo sana hii. So unaweza kitabu kingine kando unafanya tu maswali unaleta. Kama unakujanga often, huyo anakujanga na muonaga only once. Unakujanga unit nyingine? Unakujanga only once. So sasa ni wewe unazipata nini? Sio sasa tumebakia na Saturday kidogo sana. Unaletea tu alafu nakumakia. Nikikumakia kile umefanya makosa tunapona appointment na wewe. Ndio. Wewe unaona unattend classes. Una attend? Sasa nimekutumia, uko nazo? Hmm? Jamaa namba yako inaisha na sorry 82. Kwa hiyo 9482. 9482. 9482. Namba yako inaisha na 9482. Namba yako ni inaenda aje? What is your number? 072 29879 9482. Huh? Mimi I said I'm saying a number inasema 482 9482 8794. Haiko magrupu mpaka saa hii saa hii ni kupitia pitia tunamalizia, si ndio? Lakini hata kama hujaenda kusoma tax bado kuna time. Tax ni kitu unaweza soma hata na 2 weeks na upite, ama hata 1 week. So usiwajua student wengine akiona anaanza kufa moral, si ndio? Time bado iko, so anza kusoma this week. Theory kuna max mingi sana. Theory kuna max mingi sana. Nimekutumia gani? Kwa nini hii ni ya wiki ya August 2022? Hii hebu niletee ile kale handout. Hiyo ingine. Hiyo. Ini August 22 question number. Wasimama wanazifanya, wana ni mchezo. Kuna kila kitu. Question number 5 si. Na hii ni video za kitambo kidogo. Hii umepata, sio? Insurance premium ya private car, sio? Parking fine, settling a dispute with the customer, appeal against tax assessment, court breach of contract, preparation of tender documents, hiyo imeanguka. Depreciation, repairs of furniture. Furniture sio ni hii hapa. Installation of surveillance cameras, cost of office furniture, VAT paid, personal use, 225, sio? Interest on capital, interest on capital wapi? Ndio hiyo, sawa. So hii inakuanga labo. Si ukiripea furniture hapa si ni sawa. Si furniture ni. Hiyo ni sawa. Hiyo ni labo. Si tuko na disallowable reduction. Si ndio una prepare tenda ndo upate biashara uuze ndo peane ndo upate ushuru. Ama namna gani? Hii ni gani? Hii motor vehicle expenses. Hii ni nini? Hizi lazima uwe na gari. Rates and hii ni labo. Uwezi gani bila rent. Si kweli? Si rent ndo this is kwa hiyo. Si ndio? Is allowable. Hii ni custom duty iko. Accountant fees ni allowable. Salaries and wages za partners ama? Since 600 plus 450 plus 225 ulikuwa na hii kodi? Inafaa hivyo. Hebu nisaidie calculator yako. Hiyo ni ada. Hizi ni 600. 600 plus 450. Hiyo ni ada. Lakini acha nikupatie hiyo. Haya, tukuje hapa. Hiyo umepata. Hiyo umepata. Foreign exchange rate. Hii ilikuwa nini? Ikiwa realized hiyo ni taxable. Unrealized ilikuwa ni taxable. Unrealized foreign exchange gain. Hii ndio non taxable, lakini realized hiyo ni taxable. Realized. Sio? So hapa kuna nini? Dividend income, lakini sawa hapa. Iko sawa ngapi? Dividend income specified. Sawa. Profit on disposal of furniture ngapi? Sawa. Rental income. Sawa. 2020. Yeah, 2021. Kuna hiyo ya VAT. Kuna hiyo ya VAT. December 2021. Unajua unaangalia pilot paper labda. Unaangalia pilot. Hii ni interest on drawings ama? Drawings yenyewe ni lab. Hapa ni salaries and wages. Interest on capital. Interest on capital. Alafu interest on drawings. Interest on drawings. Hapo unatoanga interest on drawings. Interest on drawings, drawings zenyewe. Sawa. Hii ni gani? Hapo umejaribu. Naweza piga picha. Ziko wapi nataka? Ulipeana assignment? Assignment? Sijakurudishia karatasi. Unaitwa nani? Ulinipatia? Aenda angalia. Chujo free. Sawa, I'm going to check. April 2022. So naona mimi nazifanyanga. Nafanyanga zote. April 2022 number 4. Question number 4. 4C. 4C ndio hii. Sawa. Mortgage interest ya huyu. Depreciation, embezzlement by cashier, office partition, director's Christmas party, registration of trademarks, salaries and wages. Salaries and wages iko wapi? Correct. Custom duty, interest on capital, legal fees. Legal fees iko wapi? Hii ukiadd hii legal fees iko ngapi? Hizo zote combine zote 138,000 plus 68,000 plus 75,000 plus 216,200. Mbona yako imekuja mingi? Ama hii yako utanionyesha hiyo, utanionyesha hiyo, ndio? Hii ni repairs and maintenance. Repairs and maintenance hii utanionyesha pia. VAT sawa, insurance premium sawa, hii ni allowable, use for personal use sawa. Hii ni investment allowance sawa, hii ni allowable. Bank charges lazima uko na kibank account ufanye biashara, sio charges ni allowable. Sasa mbona tena unatoa hapa? Wameomit, haiko kwa zile list. Hebu leta hiyo paper. Hebu fungua hiyo mwaka April 2022. Iko mbele. Hiyo ni turudi nyuma. Question number hii. Ndio hii ama ni sinifa hii sinifosi ndio hiyo. So si bank charges iko hapa. Ama bank charges ndio hiyo ni deduct, sio ni sawa. Ile leo unaadili zile zenye hazifai. Hii ni sawa, sio? Hiyo rent mbona tuanga rent kwa wapi? Rent hiyo ni allowable. Hiyo ni allowable, sio? Hiyo ni allowable pia. Auditing and accounting fees ni allowable. Motor vehicle expenses ni allowable, sawa? Unless uko personal, sawa? Tumeelewana? Sasa kwa hii nini ngoja kwanza before hii ni legal fees ulichukua yote ama ulichukua gani? Hapana, hiyo tender documents ni allowable, hii ndio sio allowable, unalipa one by one. Lakini sio charges of breach of contract, hii si allowable, hii si allowable. Unaona hizo zote hizi ni allowable, disallowable, lakini ni allowable. Preparation of the tender documents, ndio? Profit on sale of furniture sawa. Insurance compensation ni kwa wapi? Insurance compensation for stolen car, correct. Discount received, hiyo si income, hiyo ni business income, hiyo ni taxable income. Kwa hizo income sasa, kwa hizo incomes hizi, unaona hizo incomes unatoa zile si na taxable, zile si za business, and discount received sio ni taxable income. Sasa hapo sana unafanya makosa. Dividend income sawa. Sasa hii ni summary zao na patia. Hii unatoa interest on borrowings, unatoa interest. Alafu sasa ukishamaliza hivi unaona hapo ukikuja kwa nini? Unawapatia mishahara yao, unapatia interest on capital. Alafu sasa kama kuna interest on drawings, hii umeadjust hapa, unatoa hizi mbili. Alafu na share. Alafu sasa other incomes, kama kuna family incomes unapeana hapa chini. So na kama uko sure na hizi, unaweka tu hapa other incomes. Sawa. Ni allowable. Si hapo unaona hapa nimekurongea because ume add back. Tuna add back vile mtu wako anafaa kudeduct. Unanielewa? Na hata hapa nilikuwa tunakuona kwenye emphasis hapa ni sawa, huku hapo kuweka ni sawa. Sasa uendelee hivyo. Ni maswali. Maswali ufanya sasa, si uko na maswali zote. Naenda kusoma zile theory Sawa. Na theory si mingi vile. Theory sasa nini unataka mimi niangalie? Maxwell Bewa. Ya which year? September 2021. And science. September 2021. Sijafanya? September 2021 nimefanya ndio hapa Maxwell. Mimi nimefanya. So Maxwell Bewa base salary yake alikuwa employed for 9 months. So 175,000 huwezi pata hii. Ulipataje hiyo? 175,000 ndio mshahara yake per month. Maxwell Bewa, September 2021. Question number 3B. Jaribu maswali kuleta. Hivi wanasoma theory na hao wengine pia waambiwa. Si Maxwell Bewa times 9. Hebu fanya hivyo upate hiyo nione. 165 times 9. So unaona unajangusha tu hapo. This is ndio ulifanya nini ukarive at that. So si hizo hiyo hujapata. Ama kuna kitu ni list hiyo something. Hebu nione vile imeandikwa. Maxwell basic salary. Hata yezi hata kama umeandika pa net of pay na adding. Lakini si ndio? So hiyo uliandika, si ndio? Medical benefit ni 250,000, si ndio? Hiyo ulipata. Goods 140 ukapata. Hii ni nini? Car benefit. Sasa ulifanya aje? Hapana, sasa huyu mtu aliandikwa miezi 9. Hakuenjoy gari throughout the year. Sasa unachukua 18%, 2% per month. Unaangalia time. Hiyo ndio ndio unafaa ufanye 18% 175 utapata 315. Alafu sisi ratings unachukua 7,200 times 9. 200 times 9. Okay, so hii ni ya mwaka na miezi 9. Si ndio? So kwa ndio kama mnakuwa very keen na time. Unaelewa? Alafu kwa gari yake ilikuwa maintenance. Si gari kwa hiyo ni nini na maintainia. Sio ni benefit kwake. Mbona kuandika hiyo? So hii furniture utapata. Entertainment 10% of you ukapata. Watchman 25,000 divided by 262,500 ukapata. Cash gift ya 250,000. Bonus ya 180,000. Insurance premium ya 80,000. Holiday allowance ya so ile imekuleta down near to 20 na hizi mbili. Sawa. So housing benefit yako definitely itakuwa affected. Pension umepata. Sasa alafu tax liability sasa mba kupatia hii na insurance relief na pay. So kwa hapa nimekupatia kama max ilikuwa ngapi hapa? September 2021 ilikuwa. Hapa nimekupatia 9. Unaona? Na hapa nimekupatia 1. Utapata max 10. Sawa. So, and then I did this one in May 2021. May 2021, question number? B. Senior. So ilikuwa ni 75, 37, 60 hiyo iko sawa. to 70 iko sawa 1300. Hii for 10 ni nini?
Power transformer.
You want power transformer?
Yeah.
Yeah, how much? Or C250?
Power transformer 820.
Hebu nione kama mimi nilipika wrong. Iko wapi?
Power transformer 820.
Na mimi nilipika 250 wa nitoa mimi ndo nilifanya makosa, si ndio? So hii ni for uko sawa, si ndio? Boiler for ite. For ite, si ndio? Na hii ingine sinking borehole
Sinking borehole
360.
Yeah.
Na parking bay. So hiyo iko sawa.
I
Alafu
think all hii ndo tumeelewa vizuri.
na sasa
Hii ni complicated kidogo, lazima mlikuwe keen.
juu unajua hii
Tutafanya by Monday.
tutafanya by Monday, si ndio?
Partnership.
Partnerships. Utasoma, si ndio? Sasa tukangane na hii. Hii ni 6.
And then explanation ya hizi ni like, for example, hawezi pewa gari moja ikuwe value iko juu hata nyingine iko chini. Haya, kama hii si walikuwa wametupatia 7,000 gari mbili. So for